Greetings, webheads, and welcome to episode 7 Crisis Protocol podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Alex.
I am Iron Man.
This is Ground Control to Major Tom.
We are here to help you get better at and have more fun with your Crisis Protocol. Today, we've got just one single topic we're going to talk about. Apocalypse is kind of the shiny new hotness. And so we're going to talk about him as the big bad, and then we're going to break down each of the four horsemen and the various characters that are eligible to be each horseman. So we'll be walking through that. But before we do, we have just a little bit of business to take care of. I will go ahead and take the L on this one. I completely forgot that we were supposed to do the giveaway last episode, so we are doing it this episode. So we did our random selection, and Chris McFadden, who is a recent Spider friend, is now the proud owner of the Asgard box set. So congratulations, Chris. We'll be reaching out to you to be able to claim your prize. For those of you who would like to get in on the next giveaway, which will be in 2 episodes, Alex, what's getting released next?
Well, the next thing getting released is Weapon X and Maverick and Sunspot and Warlock. But there's 2 releases in September, and later on that's Apocalypse and Angel and Archangel.
So do we want to just give the winner the choice of those kind of 3 boxes? I mean, it seems like there's an obvious choice, but who knows?
Yeah,
I don't see that as being a problem between the 4 options. Just obviously with the other 2 boxes coming out later in the month, we just appreciate the understanding that we wouldn't be able to get that one to you sooner than the other ones.
Maybe we'll just forget to do it again, and then we'll be right on track. You know, that might just be good planning. So, if you'd like to be involved, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can leave us a rating and a review on your podcaster of choice. Those make a big difference to help other people find us and help us to grow the community. You can also become a Patreon at patreon.com/wittybantercast. Being a Patreon, in addition to getting either 1 or 2 free entries, depending on the level that you choose for the Patreon, you also get to bonus episodes when we drop them, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. So we hope to see you. We hope that you'll help us out to support the show. Congratulations, Chris. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our main topic, which is Apocalypse. So let's just start really basic. What are now that we've had a chance to kind of digest everything about him a little bit, and it's not just hot off the press, what are your broad overall thoughts about Apocalypse himself as a character and what his place is in the game?
I mean, I think his builder is fantastic. His builder is real good.
Yeah, his builder is super solid.
Root slows, right? Root slow?
Root or shocks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really good. Both very useful conditions.
Yeah, and the fact that you can just choose what type of attack it is.
Yeah, it's really good.
So, so he's got his 7 dice builder, and then he's got his 8 dice, 3 power spender that he gets to add 2 to his attack roll for each special condition that the target character has. And there's no cap on that, if I'm reading that right. So if you're attacking someone that's got 4 special conditions, then you're rolling 16 dice, right?
Yeah.
It seems pretty decent for 3 power.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, not shabby. Even 1 condition, like 10 dice.
It's only energy, right? It's only energy, though, right?
It is only energy. That's true.
Yeah, only energy.
3 power for 10 dice is better than anything else in the game.
Is it range 2 or 3?
It's range 2.
Okay.
Well, and I mean, we'll be getting into it, but with his horsemen are handing out conditions too. So that's just going to end up kind of being a virtuous circle in and of itself.
Well, and he can do the thing where he can give people conditions if they are gain a condition that they already have. Too,
right.
Which is pretty good.
And he can use and again we'll get there, but he can also use his horseman's superpowers too. But we'll get there. So he's 4s across the board, 6 threat, 7 is 15 total health, is that right? 7 and 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Size 4, medium movement.
On a large base.
On a large base. How about, what do we think he's got? He's got 3 superpowers. What top line thoughts about the superpowers that he has?
I think they're all really good.
Yeah, they're really good. Yeah.
Yeah, his superpowers are solid.
So he's got, for 4th power, he's got Celestial Technology, where he can pick 2 other allied characters within 5, and basically place each one of them within 1 of Apocalypse. Which,
well, keep in mind, this has to be in the power phase.
Right. Good point.
But he can place characters in front of him, like it's anywhere within 1. So, like, that's a lot of movement. A 5 plus a large base. It's a lot of.
Yeah. So, from 5 away across a large base, that's either able to grab someone and get them out of trouble, or drop someone into being able to create a whole bunch of trouble.
And I think that's something that, like, when it comes to Apocalypse, it's going to have to, like, where he ends his movement in a round is going to be important to using that, since he has to use it in the power phase. So, like, if you kind of want to make sure, if you're wanting to pull people, that you're going to be within range 5 of them.
Right. You're going to have to, and they have to be, they can't be holding objective tokens, so
Yes.
have to be.
They can be.
Well, they can.
They
just
can
drop
be
them.
holding. They just drop them.
Well,
which is nice.
Yeah, that actually might be. Yeah, that actually might be useful if you've. I suppose if you're on virus or something and you want to set up a play like that.
I didn't even think about that. Just having the option to yoink your guys, though. So, like, something like Asteroid M, Rainbow Bridge, etc. Like, you don't even have an option to do it.
Right.
You cannot be holding an extract.
Oh,
whereas
that's
here, you have an option. You just drop it.
Your opponent gets to choose where those extracts go, though.
Right.
So,
but just having the option in the card saying if they're not, and as opposed to the card saying if they're not holding an objective.
Yeah.
Like, that's way better.
Definitely.
Okay, so then the other second superpower is you will be remade through me, an enemy character within 5. If it would gain a special condition, you can instead give them bleed, shock, slow, or incinerate. So it's for 1 power. What do we think? What do we think of that? What do we think of that as a superpower for its usefulness?
It's so good.
Yeah, it's really good. Well, and you have to keep in mind that I did some digging. None of the attacks that give conditions are maze. So, like, if you have an attack that, like, gives bleed, you have to give them bleed. So, like, you can use that to, like, give another condition if they already have bleed.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So if somebody's bleeding and you hit someone with an effect that would cause a bleed, you can instead give out. Okay.
Yeah, but they have to give you the bleed. It's not a may.
Right.
I did not find a single attack in the game that gives a special condition that is a may. So
why would it matter if it was optional? If you're the attacker giving the condition?
If it was optional, then you could just be like, "Oh, I'm not going to give you bleed," so then you can't use because the attacker would get to choose if it was a may.
But this is Apocalypse giving.
No. What I'm saying is, like, I guess it doesn't matter.
I mean, it would matter though, because like if they already had bleed, and you're giving bleed somehow, like for example, if Wolverine is giving bleed to somebody twice, Apocalypse would then be able to change it. I see what you're saying, JP, because it may is like, why would I never want to give it a condition?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
then
why
on
for
would
the
I
top of it,
attacker,
Apocalypse.
I
Right.
think what David's saying is relevant when you're looking at Apocalypse's other superpower, where he gains a power or
Yes,
health.
yes.
Right.
If
It's
he gains a
more
condition he's
relevant
immune
about that.
to, because then they can't say, "Oh, I choose not to do it."
And this would take effect even regardless of where the effect comes from. So, like, if you have one of your allied characters that hands out conditions to his own team, Apocalypse could still use that because the enemy character would be gaining a condition, right?
Yes. That's a good segue, actually, Patrick, into something I wanted to say. I don't know. I think it's still up in the air, but the secures that give conditions, the way the thing is worded, it's very ambiguous whether you can use it on those or not.
Yeah, it is. It is really.
How so?
Because it says a character may only be affected by the superpower once a turn, I believe.
Yes.
A
As
character
opposed
may be affected by this superpower, right?
once a
As
turn.
opposed
So
to
like
you being
since
able to
it's
use it.
since it's happening in the
Oh,
well, Fisk happens in the cleanup and Demons happens in the power phase.
Power.
And those technically aren't turns. So like the superpower doesn't say you may only use this superpower once per turn per character. It just says a character may only be affected by the superpower once per turn.
right.
So there's some ambiguity there. Though you could interpret it like the character could be affected by it more than once if it's during the power phase or the cleanup phase, since it's not a turn. Or they could just turn around and say, since it's not a turn, you can't use a superpower. It's going to take some clarification, but if it is the first one where they can gain it during the power or cleanup phase, those secures are going to be even better for Apocalypse than they already are.
Like,
for
you're
sure,
probably
especially
more wrong.
demons.
Because
Yeah.
Apocalypse is
Demons
already
could-
immune to stun and incinerate.
Right. Demons more so though because he could be within range 1 of the your back E and get a second power in the power phase essentially.
If he double moves and ports, you mean?
No, because it demons the back E, like your closest E, your deployment E. A large base
Oh,
is
I'm
within
sorry. I
range
thought you were
1.
saying back E as in their E.
No. Like your
I
closest E, like your
understand.
deployment E.
Sure.
So he could have 2 power in the beginning of the game.
Well, no, he can't do that, right? Because doesn't his
His thing doesn't work.
Yeah,
His
it only
thing
works once per
says
turn.
you can only use this superpower once per turn.
No,
Yeah,
but that's
so
what
it
I'm saying.
doesn't
If
work.
they
So it that would not work.
Yeah, that
It
one
wouldn't?
definitely
But
doesn't work.
his other
No.
thing where it says pay 1, give a character a different condition if they
Oh,
already
I
have
see
that.
what you're saying.
It doesn't say
like if
you
they
may
were
use
already
this.
incinerated and then they get re-incinerated, can
Gotcha.
you
I
give
see
them
what you're
another
saying now.
condition?
It only
That's the
says a
question.
character may only be affected by this once per turn.
Right.
But it doesn't
I
actually.
apologize. I was mixing the two up. I thought we were still talking
Oh.
about the power and condition 1 for himself.
Yep. Well, let's go to that. Let's go to that last one then. The only the strong remain. After an attack against the character is resolved, if Apocalypse suffered damage, it can remove a damage from itself. And once per turn, when this character would gain a special condition it is immune to, it can either gain a power or remove a damage for himself. Oh, by the way, he's on his healthy side. He's immune to bleed, bleed, incinerate, and stun. On his injured side, he's immune to, wait, let me check, all of them.
Everything. Yeah, everything.
So
that was the most
special conditions that they release.
that was
they
the
ever
most
do.
lawyerly Freudian slip I've ever heard, Patrick.
I told you I had a full day tomorrow, man.
We're gonna incarcerate We're gonna try to incarcerate Apocalypse, but it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I don't see that's gonna work out. Although,
I'm pretty sure he's immune to incarcerate
self-incarcerate himself.
I think we have to. I think we have to worry about the due process rights of someone that gets trapped in pocket dimensions for centuries. I feel like there's got to be some form of post-conviction appeal there.
Well, if Apocalypse is a human, does he even have rights?
Sure. Well, so I feel like this was the theme of about every one in every 3 X-Men run in the 90s and the early 2000s. And they all ended up with like a really burly Hank McCoy with his blue fur stuffed into a suit.
Trying to describe.
Yeah, I mean it's like because they'd always roll like Hank would be out there and he'd be doing the mutant rights advocacy thing, and Xavier'd be kind of in the background, and
Well, he
Jubilee.
became didn't Hank become a senator too? Like later on in the storyline, didn't Beast become a senator?
That sounds right.
I know he became senator in the X-Men movies, the early 2000 ones.
Oh, maybe that's it.
But it could have been a comic line too. They just lifted it, but I don't know.
Yeah, that I don't remember. I just I remember from the original 90s TV show where you had Beast going in with the suit. Although Cyclops, I mean, hashtag spoiler alert, but Cyclops TV interview in X-Men 97 was way better.
Oh, speaking of that, by the way, Jeff, if you're listening, watch X-Men 97.
Oh my God! Anybody who's listening, watch X-Men 97. What are you doing?
Was listening, but he hadn't seen X-Men 97 yet.
I mean, it's September. If you're listening to this podcast and you haven't watched X-Men 97 yet, kind of what are you doing?
I'm listening and I haven't watched it, so
I know. I was I kind of as soon as I was saying it's like I don't think JP's seen it yet. So I mean,
which makes no sense to me. Watch X-Men 97.
I mean, I don't take back what I said.
I canceled Disney Plus, so maybe some of you all will get it back again and watch it.
You know, that is a defensible position. I will, especially after looking at some of the stuff I'm still paying for.
Only because there's a lawyer here. I'm not going to say the exact wording, but I'm pretty sure you could probably find it somewhere on the internet without having to go through Disney Plus.
I have no idea what this password sharing thing is that you're talking about, Alex. I have never encountered it in my life.
Well, maybe not password sharing, but an old criminal profession back in 1487 on sailboats.
Listen,
we probably should try to get somewhat back on topic to what we're talking about. So, Apocalypse. Okay, so with regards to his actual card itself, I mean, is there anything else? Because I think other than the banana pants, I'm immune to everything, and getting an extra stamina, I think he's the same on his injured side, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So anything else that we want to kind of think about or think through with regard, but what should we, I mean, before we kind of move on to the Master of the Horsemen and then to the Horsemen themselves, what else are we thinking in terms of what Apocalypse himself is going to be like on the table?
I think he's going to be a pretty good sixth threat on his own. I don't think he'll get splashed very often. I just don't think he's quite there for splash capability. But I think he's super solid within affiliation.
I mean, he's one of the only 6 threats without action economy on his card.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. There's 2 things that kind of worry me about him a little bit. Is one is action economy, and 2, you really, really gotta hope for that builder to generate your power for you.
Yep.
Because the power generation is kind of an issue.
Yeah.
His thing is very unique with being able to port people to him from range 5. Like, nobody else has anything even remotely like that in the game right now.
Yeah.
So,
And it's more than one. That's the thing.
yeah. I mean, he definitely loses a lot of tools and power outside of his own affiliation, but thinking about that superpower and the impact it can have in games, it's not outside of the realm of possibility in my mind that someone might splash him in an affiliation that is like condition heavy, maybe.
Yeah.
He
I
does hit
don't
like
hate
a
that.
truck, and
I
he
mean, I
can
don't hate him in
position
something
a
like
team a lot.
Strucker Hydra. He'd be interesting in Strucker
Mhm.
Hydra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate him in Strucker
Okay.
Hydra either. I think he'd be super neat. I don't foresee him getting splashed super often, like in comparison to Hulk or
No.
Thanos.
I don't even know if he will get splashed, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. Someone might try it. It could be good. I don't know.
Yeah.
That superpower is really good, and he hits hard.
It is really good.
He hits hard.
It's just you got to
Yeah.
figure out. You got to have 4 power in the power phase, right? So it could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be maybe
Yeah, but
a
if you're
once a
playing
game
him,
thing, but that once a game thing. I mean, it's as good as it's better than Mothership, right? At
yeah.
that point, because you're moving 2 models.
Kinda. Could be. Mothership is good because it can get like a really expensive model somewhere else. APOC is
Yeah.
like teleporting, but I mean he is teleporting 2 models, so
Right.
I don't know. It is good. It is good. And Mothership is like no range requirement, but yeah, I mean
Yeah, but
it's an impressive superpower for sure.
yeah,
for
I
sure.
think there's probably some bank shots between the celestial technology and his spender where you could probably find some cute plays for him. But it just all of his other kit, the way it's built with the Horsemen, it just feels like he needs that so much that it's really hard to justify all 6 threat bringing him along.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah.
The affiliation was obviously built around him, so
Yep. Well, plus, I mean, I suppose you could build. I mean, when you're going to be building an apocalypse list, I'm presuming, and we're going to get into that conversation, that the rest of the list is going to kind of be built around different characters that can be horsemen. So I suppose if you had like a Strucker list and Apocalypse was your 10th character, maybe you could at least, if nothing else, put an additional mental tax on your opponent to make them think about if you're going to be pulling Apocalypse out and what that's going to mean on a Hydra list.
Well, and I
Yeah.
mean, you could technically run Sleeper Agent on him. I don't know if that'd be any good. Probably not, but
Probably
you
not, but
could.
it makes my head hurt thinking about it. Of course,
on
everything makes my head hurt right now.
on something like an E, he doesn't have to move too much unless he's getting displayed. So I don't know, maybe.
I mean, it feels like if nothing else, it feels like he would. This is a character made to play on demons.
Exactly. Just go up, take the middle demon point, say
Right.
attack me.
And I suppose at some level, Fisk too, if he can be, he's probably big enough. He go ahead and stun me.
Yeah, and I think Hydralisk runs Fisk anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
I mean I think they're typically probably running Red Skull as leader there, but if the rest of the list gives a lot of conditions still, maybe.
Okay, so any more thoughts just about Apocalypse himself on the card? Anything else that we want to kind of think about or chew over or break down?
That heal is kind of a weird damage reduction in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely
it's not as good as Thanos,
but
but
it's still good.
it's definitely good.
Well, and it is kind of doubling down on his power, right? Because you're gonna get the power for taking the damage, and then you'll get to heal.
That's
So,
true.
like,
That is true.
you
He's
are
just-
getting,
He's
you're
just
getting
got
a
to
little bit of
survive the
bonus power out of it, as opposed to like
Yeah.
Thanos, who just doesn't take damage. So
Yeah.
He's
he
just
doesn't
got to
gain power?
survive the attack.
He does have to survive the attack,
yeah,
which is another downside
And
to it. And it
it's
has to be an
only
attack.
attacks.
Yeah.
So like, I imagine people are gonna throw a lot of shit at Apocalypse.
It kind of runs a little bit the way instant recovery now, where
Yeah, good call.
he's
Yeah.
got to survive the attack and then he gets to heal.
Yep.
Except
I mean,
it
it's
doesn't
still
cost.
very good, and it's definitely unique.
Well, and kind of the same thing like with instant recovery. The fact that he's got a big health pool makes it much more useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got good defenses.
Yeah, fours
Yeah,
across.
he's a defensive call. Yeah.
Yeah, fours across the board.
I
Make no
think
sense that.
he's got the best defenses of the 6th threat, doesn't he? Like excluding anything that could modify it or anything, because like being force across the board. Because Hulk's what 4-3-4.
No, he's 4-3-3.
4-3-3,
I
even
hope it's
better.
4-3-5.
But he's 7th threat.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Isn't Hero Thor? Isn't he 4-4-4?
Yeah.
Okay, yep, he is. I forget Hero. Frankly, I just kind of forgot he existed for a second. Not because he's bad or anything. He's just still new.
Well, he just came out, so it's like,
Cosmic Ghost Rider's fours across the board.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Good call.
Just means I can get the Jarvis protocol fast.
Yeah, my brain's not working, so
I can relate
it's
to
all
that.
you guys. You guys are doing the heavy lifting.
Okay, so any any closing thoughts on Apocalypse before we move on? Let's put the his specific tactics cards to the side. Other than I want to talk about Master the Horsemen, and then we'll get into the Horsemen themselves. So, unless there's anything else, any other thoughts that anybody has on the Big A himself before we move on to that.
Speaking of the Big A, I'm totally gonna derail this again. He's got a big A on his belt.
I know.
Is that so like people don't confuse their belt for his and like take his belt and make him like saggy pants for the day? He's like,
I mean, partially yes.
It's got a big A on it, dipshit.
That's
Yeah.
because Apocalypse is just full of himself.
Yeah, he's like,
I
I gotta
mean-
be the alpha.
I at a certain level, I sort of admire leaning into the original design of the character, even as it's been modernized. But I mean, it all I can think of is the Galactus's first appearance in the Fantastic Four in the '60s, and he's got the big old G on his belt, like he's a Packers fan.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
You gotta in the comic world, you gotta tell people who you are by what you're
Nobody's
wearing.
gonna know who the fuck you are. You're a nobody until you got your first initial on your belt buckle.
Yes.
Then you're a somebody. Then they take
That's
notice.
That's the identifying mark. It's not his name is Apocalypse. It's that guy with the A on his belt.
if he had it like diamond encrusted on a chain around his neck, nobody would blink an eye. So I mean, I think the A is just him trying to be subtle.
New green stuff project for anyone out there. Diamond encrusted A pendant. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Bedazzle it. Let's bedazzle it.
Let's go. We believe in you, webheads.
I would even go as far as to accept it if it was hanging off of his hand, because like his hand is just in a perfect shape to have a pendant hanging off of it.
He's just beating folks with an A chain.
I would accept that as long as there was just a tiny little bit of like a blood spatter on the corner of the pendant that he was beating somebody to death with.
That would be funny.
Oh man, we have really gotten off the rails. Thanks, JP. That was fantastic. Okay,
What happened to you? Why do you have a giant A on your forehead? Well, Apocalypse just came and punched me.
Yeah, I had a
He just mushroom
He had
stamped
to
my
tell
face.
everybody.
bad morning.
Yeah.
All right. So, Master the Horseman. This is. How does this card work? I mean, I've read it and I kind of have an idea how it works, but let's just for the webheads who are just kind of toying around with the idea of whether or not Apocalypse is something they want to mess with. What does Master the Horseman do, or how does it work?
Well, first, it's not a tactics card, so it doesn't count towards your 10 or your 5 or any of that stuff.
It's just and it's not it's just a thing. It's just kind of its own
just a
thing.
thing. Yep.
It's basically an instruction manual for Apocalypse that you put next to his card.
Sad Weapon X noises.
Sad Corvus Glaive noises.
Yeah.
It's basically the lifeblood of the affiliation.
Yep.
It's what makes the whole. It's the whole engine. It's what makes everything tick.
Yep. So each of his 4 horsemen, which war, famine, pestilence, and death, they are run by their own cards, and the Master of the Horseman card basically lets Apocalypse control them. Once per turn, he can use any one of the superpowers on the Horseman's card as his own superpower, so which makes an already text dense card for Apocalypse even denser, because he's basically got up to 4 additional superpowers that he can use, one of them per turn. He gets an evolution token one during the power phase, up to a maximum of 6. When an allied character assigned to Horseman's card is attacking, defending, or dodging, they can remove up to 3 evolution tokens from the Master of the Horseman card, and each 3 removed lets you reroll a die. And then an allied character assigned a Horseman card can spend evolution tokens on the Master of the Horseman card to pay the power cost for the superpowers on the Horseman card. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a few things we don't know for sure, though.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if you can spend a power and spend evolution token. I'm assuming you can, but
I would presume you
don't know.
can.
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. It doesn't say that you must spend all evolution tokens or all power to play those powers.
Well, I mean, we
Red
obviously
Skull
know
3.
Yeah, Red Skull 3's wording.
I'm gonna look that wording up.
is
Hold on. You guys keep talking.
Like, I feel like there's a possibility that it could be that way, where you have to either spend evolution tokens or you spend power tokens, but I'm not sure.
I feel like that would change the character pretty substantially if that was the rule.
It would definitely, I think.
And just as much for my edification as to clear it up. So Master of the Horseman is a Horseman card, and Apocalypse is allied to himself. So Apocalypse can also use evolution tokens to pay for superpowers for any of the superpowers on the other Horseman cards.
Yes.
Okay.
As far as I know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that might come up, and it might get fixed in the forums or changed. There's no way to really know.
Right.
It all depends on what AMG thinks.
All right. Here we go. Red Skull. When this character spends power to make an attack action or use a superpower, it may spend power for the attack or superpower from an allied character within 3 of it. Apocalypse says, an allied character assigned a Horseman token may spend evolution tokens on this card as if they were power on its stat card to pay the power cost of superpowers on Horseman cards. So, although it's not like an exact repeat of the language on Red Skull, it is very close.
Mm-hmm.
It is, yeah.
It's close. I think the determining factor, though, is it's stating that it is like power on the stat card. I think that might be the At least I think
I
the
don't know if
point where you can use power and the evolution tokens.
as if they were power on its stat card to pay the power cost of superpowers or horseman cards. I mean, Red Skull says it may spend power from the attack or superpower from an allied character within 3 of it. So you would assume that that would be treated as power on a stat card. I mean, it doesn't say power, but it doesn't say. It says nothing about spending all of it from the character, and yet it was ruled like that. It's definitely going to take a forum ruling.
I would agree. I actually think that forum ruling was kind of bonkers when it came out, but it is what it is.
It kind of. I think it definitely hurt how Red Skull 3 functions.
I mean, he's still a beast, so
He
it's
is.
probably a good thing. But
yeah, that's probably true. Well, and it might. In that circumstance, I suppose there's probably more options for shenanigans if you don't.
Oh, way more.
Reign that the same kind of shenanigan possibility for Apocalypse, just because it's just its own kind of unique evolution power economy thing, as opposed to.
I mean, him being able to famine on round 1 without any help is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he'd be able to do it in round 1 anyway. You just have famine go at some point before he does, and then you have 2 evolution tokens, and he can still do it round 1.
Yeah, he'd have to end his. Let's get into let's just use that as a smooth segue. To unless there's anything else we want to do about Master of the Horseman, we can get into the actual Horseman card themselves, and we could just dive right in. We could start with famine.
One thing I did want to mention, there was something I was thinking about with that Horseman card.
Yeah.
So because the card is gaining the evolution tokens, if Apocalypse dies, you lose all your evolution tokens. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
Yeah, those do go away. But with the Horseman cards, JP and I talked about it Friday, and we've talked about it in our group chats before, but another thing, do you get to use the Horseman cards after the Horseman has been KO'd?
Yeah, do the cards go away? That's another question.
That'll be another forum question for sure.
But yes, continue with famine. That was just the thing I needed to say.
So we were thinking that the cards they're not like attached to they're assigned to the character, but it doesn't say anything about like removing them when the character leaves play.
Right. I mean, I mean, if I'm the forum rules lawyer, I would probably say that the characters are assigned the cards at when the leadership is chosen, and when the leadership goes away, that doesn't mean they weren't assigned the cards. So I think they keep them.
Well, what we're thinking is like if the character gets KO'd, is that card still accessible?
Can he use their Horseman powers?
Because on those Horseman cards as well, I mean, Master of the Horseman is a Horseman card, and the Horseman cards are Horseman cards. Master of the Horseman says when APOC is KO'd, this card is removed from play.
But
the other ones do not say that.
An allied character assigned a Horseman card may spend evolution. Oh no, that wasn't it. Once per turn during his activations, Apocalypse may use one of the superpowers on any Horseman card that was assigned to an allied character by the Apocalypse's Horseman leadership. Yeah, that's probably a pretty good argument that he can.
Well, it changes the way you would approach fighting Apocalypse, because you can't take if it works like that, you can't take any of his tools away. You can never take his teleport away by killing the famine.
By killing famine,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that'll be
here's
an
the thing.
important
But I
ruling.
assume
Yeah,
that
super
these
important.
questions aren't going to get answered until Apocalypse actually comes out. So,
Probably like 2 months after, if Red Skull's
Yeah.
any measure.
yeah.
Maybe sooner than that, though, because I would guess that Apocalypse is going to be really played heavily. So there's probably going to be a pressure to
Well,
get that resolved as soon as possible.
I guess we can petition the listeners to like keep asking the question on the forums, and
Yep.
eventually you have to do something about it if the question keeps getting asked.
Squeaky wheels, webheads. It's all about being squeaky wheels.
Yep.
Okay, anything else about Master of the Horsemen before we move on to the Horsemen themselves?
Not that I can think of.
Carry on.
All right, so we'll just start with where everybody starts, which is war. So the War Horseman card. The assigned character gains the following superpowers. For 2 power, you get Fury. During the next attack made by this character this turn, if the target character is within 2, this character may change 1 die roll to a hit for each crit or wild in the attack roll. Also, the first time each turn this character suffers damage from an enemy effect, and the first time each turn this character deals damage, after the effect is resolved, Master of the Horseman gains 1 evolution token. Your assignable characters for war are Beast, Cable, Colossus, Deadpool, Honey Badger, Magik, Sabretooth, and Wolverine. So, first things first, what do we think about the war superpowers to start with?
I think they're really good. I mean, Warrior of
Both
Legend is
fantastic.
yeah, it's real good. The range 2 requirement is whatever, but keep in mind that is a thing. So like if you make Deadpool your war, he can't use it on a bang if he's outside of 2.
Right. So
I'm just picturing Apocalypse spending 5 power to war superpower a spender and throwing like a bajillion dice and counting,
yeah,
flipping.
Didn't I do that?
I don't think you spender, did you?
I thought I
You
spent her
did.
because it was I think it's what killed Namor.
Possibly.
yeah,
I
because
mean
he's dropped.
it's real good. Well, and he doesn't even have to spend 5 power. He could spend 2 evolution tokens.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or he could spend 5 power and then throw 14 dice and have 3 rerolls
Yes.
with evolution tokens.
Well, I mean if he has 6, he could not too, right? Like he could use both.
Both of what?
He could have the evolution tokens for rerolls and spend for war if he has enough evolution
Well,
tokens.
war only costs 2, so it'd be
Oh
5.
yeah.
Well, and it's, I mean, as long as he pays the power for it twice, he can do it twice, right?
No. His
It's only
card
once
says
per
you can
turn.
use a
Yeah, he
superpower
can
on
only
a
use
war or on a rider
Oh yeah.
turn.
Now the
Yeah,
character
Apocalypse
who's
can do that.
assigned it can use it as many
Right.
times as they attack.
Right. The actual war horseman could do 2 furies.
Yeah.
Yes. Or if it's Deadpool 4. Well, no, I guess he couldn't do 4 because he has to do it before, so it would only be on the first bang.
Right.
It's an interesting card. It seems good on people who want to attack people and people who want to take hits, because you get a power when dealing damage and a power when taking damage. So
Well, and if you're gonna try to do it that way, I think you want to look at the more defensive characters like Colossus, right? Because he's going to be taking smaller increments of damage, which means you're going to
Well,
have more opportunities to gain evolution tokens.
well, interestingly enough, Atomic Mass Games did a Twitter poll, and Colossus ended up being what the character that Twitter thought should be made the Horseman of War.
I think
out
he's
of
a
the
very good
options,
hero.
out of the options that they have on the affiliation list, people
It
like
was-
they did
people
a
like
big,
Colossus the most.
They did like
Yeah.
4 of them. They did it as like a bracket.
yeah.
They did like in Wolverine and Sabretooth.
Yeah.
It was Colossus and Beast.
Oh, was it Beast? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I like Beast of War.
Yeah, I don't.
He's
It's
fine.
weird at what he's doing, but yeah, it's weird. I mean, I think it definitely. I mean, Wolverine's a good war. Like, I don't see any. I mean, yeah, he's good. Colossus is good. Who else can be war? I think
Sabretooth.
Magik might be interesting, actually.
I liked her as War. I played her as War twice Friday. I liked her.
Yeah, I mean, her attacks are good. Like
So-
she makes good use of it.
So Alex, when you played, how did what did you what about War on the table did you find? Was there anything that surprised you, or what were your impressions actually getting some table time in with it?
I got table time with everything. Like I both the crises that we played, we were able to play 4 Horsemen, no problem. I liked Magik as War. It was only due to the threat level that I didn't get to play with like Wolverine as War or Colossus as War. But I thought the few times that I did use War, because I'm almost positive I used it with Apocalypse once with a spender, and I'm fairly certain that's what ended up KOing Namor because he had 2 conditions and being able to change plenty of dice over, no problem with Fury. And Magik used it once, I think, also against Namor to daze him. And again, being able to change all those dice, and with her builder having Pierce, it was just a nice double stack. Being able to do as much damage as possible.
Yeah, it's definitely something I like. I think it's good. I think Deadpool's okay. I guess I don't know. I mean, he's got stuff. He's got a reroll. It's Deadpool. He's probably fine.
So what do you like just in terms of analyzing it? What are you looking for to try to maximize your value for War with your character options? What are the
Well, I mean, you want somebody
what are
who's
the
going to
features of a
be
character?
attacking, right? And you're going to want somebody who probably can take advantage of being able to, like, obviously, if you've got higher dice pools, that's probably better. But so, like, Wolverine on his injured side, he could get pretty stupid with it, right?
Do you care at all if someone's got wild triggers? If it's kind of like a kind of a rich get richer thing.
That's kind of where my head's at with it. I don't know if I necessarily like it on Wolverine more than anybody else.
Yeah,
It's like
I don't know.
feast or famine. No pun intended.
Well, that's coming.
I feel as though honestly the models that really benefited from the most, like you guys said, rich get richer sort of situation. Like the models that have Pierce, really like it, but it's just like so much extra on them. It's not saying it's more so better than somebody else.
I would aim for higher dice pools with it or damage reduction.
Yeah. Yep.
One of
That's
the
what
two.
I would. That's
Okay.
what I would say.
Okay. Any other thoughts on War? Oh, good God, y'all.
Not that I can really think of. I mean,
Okay.
of the Horsemen, I don't think So you at some point when you're designing an Apocalypse roster, you're gonna have to decide if you want to be able to like maximize the ability to play all 4 horsemen, or if you're gonna like focus on a couple horsemen and then have like as the threat gets higher, you have the option to take more horsemen, right? Because it's like at 17, you could take. I mean, you could take 3 horsemen. You could probably squeeze in a 4th, but it depends on if you wanted to loot down the character to take another horseman. Like, it depends on if that's worth it or not.
So
I guess
there's
that's
only
a decision you have to make.
right. So there's only one of the 4 horsemen that don't have a 2 threat as an option. So I don't know if that makes a difference in terms of your roster building or not.
I mean, it's just one of those things. So, like, of the horsemen, I don't think war is as important as, like, say, famine. I think famine is the most important horseman. That's
Okay.
just my take on it, though.
Well, let's jump over then. Let's move on from let's go to famine. So the famine horseman card, you've got your 2 powers. First is vanished into dust. For 2 power, you choose up to 1 enemy character within 2 of this character. If the enemy character is chosen this way, it loses 1 power. Place this character within 2 of its current position. The superpower can only be used once per turn. And then Horseman of Famine, at the end of this character's activation, if no non-dazed enemy characters are within 3 of it, Master the Horseman gains an evolution token. So, David, you said that Famine was the most important of the 4. Why do you think that?
Well, because 1, obviously, Apocalypse doesn't have action economy, and this gives Apocalypse access to a place, which is fantastic.
Yeah, place 2 off a large base seems good.
Yeah, it's really good. When we did the measurements, you could get to somebody's back B and still make a punch, right? Like you could move, place, and punch somebody on their back B, which is really good. The other thing is, like, I mean, we all know the nature of MCP, right? You're gonna be playing a game where you're trying to pick up stuff, unless you're playing researcher, right? So you're going to need a character who's going to be able to grab an objective early. And I think Famine is going to be that character because Famine can just go out there, grab an objective, and then like end his activation away from other characters and automatically generate an evolution token. So like I think Famine is probably going to be your first activation. So probably going to be your most important as far as that goes.
Okay, so I have a question on how. I mean, I think I know the answer, but the way the card is written seems funky to me. So you have the whole mechanic about choosing an enemy character within 2, then they lose a power, and then it says if the enemy character is chosen this way, it loses a power. Then it says place the character within 2. So can you use Vanish into Dust if you don't have an enemy character within 2 of this character?
I mean, I think you can, but it's one of those.
The if doesn't make sense otherwise.
Yeah, it doesn't, right? And
I mean,
then
I think the
if
way
that's
that
the case, that becomes a lot worse of an
right,
ability.
right, because then you don't have the famine able to able
You can't like
get
port
out.
Apocalypse around very easily, right?
Right.
And if he's already in 2 with something, like maybe you don't even need to port him.
Right.
Sorry, I guess what's the question, Patrick? You don't know
The
if
question
someone
is
is
if
within 2 if you can use a superpower or not.
Right. So in other words,
if you can
go
you
ahead, Dave.
use it if there's nobody within 2?
Right.
I think you can because they're separate paragraphs, right?
I think so too, but it's worded. I think it's not worded as clearly as it could be. I mean, I know when I first read it, it was kind of in my head as like, okay, well, this is only useful if a character's within 2. And then I read it a couple more times. I was like, well, wait a minute. Why would it
Oh
say?
no, you can definitely, because it's a completely separate paragraph. It's not
Yeah.
even because any of the things that work that way usually have the like they'll say like this and then do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it would say then place this character within 2 of the current position. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree. It's just I thought it was it didn't. I had to read it a few times before I wrapped my head around that. So I just wanted to make sure I was getting that right.
I mean, losing the power is really good too, though, right? Taking power from
Sure.
anybody is like
I
pretty
think
fantastic.
I think this writer is kind of trash, but it's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
Like it's literally just to give Apocalypse a port.
Yeah. Well, and
like it doesn't do well generating evolution tokens. Doesn't
No, it
really
doesn't.
have a great effect. Like porting somebody is fine. It's fine. It doesn't generate a lot of Horseman tokens though.
Yeah.
And like
yeah.
the choosing someone within 1 to lose a power is not. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it could be good in certain circumstances, but it's kind of a little more niche,
Alex, how
right?
did it feel? How did it feel on the table? Did it feel kind of booty, aside from giving Apocalypse support?
Well, the other thing too is the characters, right? The characters who can take it.
Yeah, it felt kind of. I mean, it was okay. I don't think it's really there for anything other than just giving Apocalypse some sort of action economy. It's neat. And like to be perfectly honest, I forgot that there was that first part because I didn't do that power thing at all. And I had plenty of opportunities to do it.
I do like it on Iceman.
I do like it on Iceman.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
it's really really good on Iceman, but again, Iceman, that was one problem to his kid a little bit. It's like he had action economy, but it's like after effect action economy. There was no like proactive way of getting him in places where it was needed. But
go ahead and finish your thought, Alex. I'm sorry.
oh, you're fine. It's just being able to place himself in a better spot, or possibly, being able to place him out of danger because he's a little squishy was super helpful. And then, it just is something that is needed for Apocalypse, but I feel isn't necessary for the affiliation because it's just not anything phenomenal.
You guys said that you thought that Iceman particularly was a good candidate for famine. Why is that?
He's got a medium base, so
Yep.
it allows him to move farther than most of the other characters, and it helps him set up a beam to where he can line up a double beam and then do a hit and run on the second, so he can get in, double shoot, get out, and he can throw, like with a range 2 port on a medium base, you can set up, I mean, depending on the map, positioning, you could, like, it's not far-fetched to set up a 3-man beam.
As we all know, Dynamo is a thing, and we've learned from what a range 2 place on a medium base does.
It's real good.
Does the same argument hold true for Sinister?
Yeah, but he needs. I mean, I think he's good. He's good there too, for sure. The difference is his beam requires power, but
right.
And Sinister is a 4 threat as opposed to a 3. Like if you're gonna have a Horseman card that you're not very valuable on who has it, then like having a 3 threat habit is probably better than investing more threat into it.
Right.
The other thing is Iceman has a wild condition on his beam. So, like, if you can set up a triple beam and do it twice, you have 6 dice rolls of 4 dice each to get wilds. And if Apocalypse is within range 5 of him, and they already have the slow from the previous beam or like a previous turn, like you're stacking like Incinerate now.
And when an enemy character ends near him too, right? They get slowed. So like if they're already slowed, you can Well, no, you can't. I guess we determined that doesn't work because it says instead.
Oh, so you can't activate
can't use
Apocalypse's
thing.
you can't trigger his thing because you're doing a damage instead.
Yeah,
It's
says
a
instead.
replacement effect.
Yeah,
that would happen before a window for a trigger on Apocalypse's thing would happen.
Yep.
Yeah. It's still good though. Ending with slow is really annoying.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
I will say.
And you're stacking up conditions to set Apocalypse's spender up too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like getting in, double beaming, getting out. I think it adds a lot to Iceman's kit, and he has the beam as a gainer, so he's genning a lot of power. So he doesn't necessarily have to use Evo tokens to do the range 2 place, which saves the Evo tokens for other people who would like have a great benefit to use them.
Right.
So there's a lot of reasons why I like Iceman there.
Okay. Any other thoughts on any of the other possible characters that we didn't discuss? Cassandra Nova, Gambit, Psylocke, Blob.
I think Blob is fine with Salmon. I don't think he's terrible. I don't think it's amazing, but I mean, again, he's a 3 threat.
Helps him get around even more, I suppose.
It does. I don't really care about it on Deadpool because he already has a place, so it's kind of like there's no point in like doubling down on it. It doesn't really do much.
I mean, double place is good, but the fact that you can spend Evo tokens on it.
I mean that part is good, but
makes it interesting because then you're getting two range 2 places, which is the equivalent of like it's like between a range 3 and 4 port.
Well, and you can also do some interesting stuff with him because he can also remove power from people. So like you can use Famine to remove power, and then he can remove power.
That's true.
So it's something to think about. Not that I don't know if that's any good or not, but it could be. And the same goes for Magik, right? She already has a place. Kind of doubling down on the same thing.
She could be hella fast though.
Yeah, she could
range
definitely
3, range 2. That's like a range 5+.
Yeah, she could definitely get around. And she has a range 4 attack too, so like it's not amazing, but it's something. Well, and she can also like
does it help
teleport herself in, attack something, and then Famine out, right? To get the Evo token. So it's not terrible, but
I suppose any of those guys. Say that, Patrick.
Oh, I was just gonna say, does it help if you put it on Gambit? Does it help him stay upright by letting him kind of do his thing and then being able to dust himself out of range or at least out of harm's way at some level?
All the Gambit fanboys out there, we're not going to talk about Gambit in this podcast. Sorry.
Ooh.
We all agree he's probably one of the worst X-Men.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
He needs some help.
Makes me sad, but AMG, we need the Gambit glow up in a hurry. Okay. Any other thoughts on Famine?
That's all I got.
Okay. Well,
then moving on.
Then let us move forward to Pestilence. Pestilence has 2 powers. First is Consuming Blight. For 2 power. For each enemy character within 2, choose one of the following effects. If that character has the poison, root, or slow special conditions, it suffers a damage. Or that character gains one of the following special conditions: poison, root, or slow. The superpower can only use once per turn. And then Horsemen of Pestilence, at the end of the character's activation, Master of the Horseman gains 1 evolution token for each enemy character that gained 1 or more special conditions during this character's activation. Your Pestilence Horseman eligible characters are Archangel, Beast, Cable, Colossus, Mr. Sinister, Sabretooth, the Blob, and Toad. So what do we think of Pestilence?
I think Pestilence is really good. Being able to
I think
like
it's really good.
being able to mask like root stuff is stupid. It's really good.
Yeah, Alex used it against me on Friday, and it was pretty effective. Just being able to pay
definitely.
if you compare it to something like Mr. Sinister or Groot or something where you can hand somebody a condition. Well, those guys are root specifically. Hand them root for 2 power, or you have a range 2 that you pay 2 for, and give everybody root or slow or poison. And you can choose individually what they get.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty dumb, and you don't even need 2 power. You can use 2 Evo tokens for it. So
Yeah, you can.
hypothetically, you could run
Right, you can use the
you could like
You can use
double
the
move
evolution.
Colossus or Beast or somebody who's kind of like faster, and just like get up somewhere round 1 and just root everybody or slow
Yep,
everybody who's
and
grouped.
then get your tokens back, which is
Yeah,
also
and you get
good.
the tokens back.
maybe
It's
maybe more than that.
exactly.
Yeah, you could set it up.
Yeah, our
Definitely.
first game that we played, JP, it was difficult getting some of those evolution tokens going. But our second game, when Colossus ran up there and just gave me 3 tokens because he was sitting there, made a huge difference in the game.
Yeah, and like some maps you just don't have an option. You just have to take it.
Yeah,
Playing
like
around
Gamma.
Pestilence is going to be worse than just taking like Gamma, Researcher, whatever. Like it's just
Yeah. Any of
So
those stacked prizes.
you're going to get punished.
so obviously this suggests that that Pestilence probably does best on a character 1 with some movement and 2 with a larger base to make the 2 radius bigger.
Yes,
It helps, yeah, for sure.
but
So
Toad is still. I mean, even on a small base, Toad is pretty good
oh yeah.
as a Pestilence. Like him just being able to like place up and go, okay, everybody's gonna get conditions, and now I'm gonna run away. Like that's really good.
Well, I was trying out a Namor Zemo list also. So I was consciously castling, and then Colossus just runs up and just splooges all over me.
And like it really, like I thought it hurt Namor the most because like yeah, he generates 2 power a turn, but then getting hit with root, it made
Yep.
his charge. He wasn't able to charge round 2.
Yeah. Well, and slow is also good on like webs
Right.
and anybody else who's like annoyingly gonna run away with extracts. Like,
Right. Right. So yeah, so this is a horseman that definitely benefits from a down Main Street crisis where everybody's going to get bunched up to start with.
Yeah, I think it loses quite a bit of value on something like a D,
Right.
where
well, Apocalypse can use it too. Not that I think that he's the one you use it for, but you could always use it to like drop conditions on somebody to do a spender, right?
Just what I was thinking. I mean, he could basically for 2 power add 2 dice to his spender.
Yeah, it's good. I definitely like it.
or he could spend 2 power to essentially throw somebody,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because
Because
you could like
his builder triggers off of shock and shock and root.
Yep.
What is it? Yeah, shock and root. So you could give him root, and then punch him for shock, and then punch him again to throw him.
Yep. Just got to get the wild. On 7 dice, you've got a pretty good shot.
Well, you get triple reroll too.
Yeah.
Assuming you have evolution tokens.
Yep. Okay. So, what else are we thinking about? Anything else we're thinking about pestilence? Any kind of
Isn't
leadership?
Sinister's one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Sinister's one.
So with Sinister already gives out root, so you could use it to damage people too, right? Like you could just give out root and then just use it to damage people.
You could.
Which, I mean, it's 1 damage, but 1 damage is 1 damage, right? Like maybe there's a character alive on 1, and you're just like, I just don't want to deal with you.
Well, free
Let
damage.
me
I
just
mean,
root you and kill you.
guaranteed
right?
damage and guaranteed damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It.
In a pinch, it could be a tool for sure.
Yeah.
And
I like it.
Well, and that's not. I mean, it's not once per turn either. I mean, he could hand out. I mean, if he has 3 genetic sample tokens, he could hand out 3 roots.
Yeah. Yep. And then just like mass damage everybody.
Yep.
Pretty good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think of. Holy shit! Hold on a sec.
Yeah. Holy cow! I didn't really.
Hold on a sec. Oh no, it does say the superpower can be used only once per turn.
Yeah. Pestilence
I was like,
can
this
only
is
be
fuck busted.
Yeah,
Because
pestilence.
you just like, I'm giving everyone poison. I get 3 horseman counters. I'm giving everyone root. I get 3 horseman counters.
No.
I give everyone slow. I get 3. Like what the?
No, I mean, Sinister's genetic negation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were saying pestilence could be used.
No. Yeah, that would be pretty messed
It
up.
would be ridiculous if we could. But
Oh my god,
like,
yeah. If that model had 10 power, and like as many evolution tokens.
Everybody within 2 is getting
Here's-
guaranteed do damage in 3 conditions, and oh, by the way, here comes Big Daddy Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
no, I wouldn't. But I mean,
All right.
it's
Well,
something.
Well, I have not I have not found love for Gambit, but this does at least make me think that Sinister as Pestilence might actually be worth looking at.
Yeah, it might be pretty good.
Okay.
I think it's-
Any other thoughts on Pestilence?
Not that I could.
Now that I'm thinking about it, around 1, like double move consuming blight on a big group of characters and stacking poison on all of them would actually be really fucking brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Poison's usually poo-pooed, and I'm in that camp for sure, but being able to poison like 3 targets round 1, and they don't get a power on round 2, that can derail a lot of plans.
They're
You would
clustered
generate
around.
an extra Evo token too. I mean, assuming you spent the 2 Evo tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could double. I don't know.
Doing it with.
Go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say just doing it with Sinister if you have the genetic samples. Poisoning a group of people and then rooting them on top of it.
Yeah, it's really good too.
Yeah, Sinister's a medium-based medium mover, so he can get around decently too.
Yep.
There could be a play where you double move your Pestilence character and do the Consuming Blight, and then you double move Apocalypse and do Consuming Blight, and stack double conditions round 1. Like, over half your team is rooted and poisoned, like going into round 2. Like, what the fuck do you do?
I believe now we are getting insight as to why they rotated Kick 'em while they're down.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, Apocalypse
and-
getting 5 reros with Evo tokens.
I mean, it's not a coincidence that they pulled Cruella Milano.
Womp womp.
Alrighty. Any other thoughts on Pestilence before we move on to the last of the Horsemen?
I like Pestilence. It might be my favorite.
Yeah, I think I might be with you on that one.
Yeah, I think it is probably the definitely very good.
It's very flexible.
Yeah.
Feels like
and
there's.
it can. Go ahead, Patrick.
Oh, I was just gonna say it feels like there's. It feels like the Horseman that has the most upside if you put the most work into it.
Yeah, and I like a lot of the characters that Pestilence. A lot of characters who can actually be Pestilence. A lot of them are quote unquote good characters in the affiliation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like Toad is perfectly fine with this with Pestilence, right? Like
Sure.
Yeah.
And I mean,
And honestly, Colossus felt so good as Pestilence. Like I did not feel bad having him as Pestilence over War. It's just because he's such a nuisance. He's fat now that he's faster, and he can't be pushed. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, he's got
That's
taunt,
pretty
right?
good.
So you just move him up into that central point and just
Yeah.
embed him there. And he starts handing out conditions, and he's like, "I'm going to taunt if you try to attack, and I have damage reduction." It's hard to just get rid of him, and he's
Yep.
just going to keep
Yep.
doing. He's way more of a nuisance with Pestilence because he's just way more impactful. You can't
Yep.
just ignore him,
Right.
or you just
Yeah.
get conditions stacked.
Yep.
It is pretty I do like that a lot.
Yeah. I'm at this point now. I'm actually rethinking about whether or not I'm going to be a day one buyer of Apocalypse or not.
No, this is the whole point of the conversation, right?
I know.
'Cause
AMG, we're doing your marketing for you. We
Listen, as long as we all have come to accept that this is my kaiju, and everybody else is just playing him to have fun, I can accept that.
That is fair. You have been a long suffering kaiju hater to the point where I think you probably do deserve this, Alex.
No, fuck you, Alex. My green stuff project is gonna make my A on my belt buckle bigger than yours.
Well, that's fine. I don't give a shit. As long as we can all say that this was my kaiju, I'll be happy. Because all the rest of y'all have played kaijus before I did.
My belt buckle will be bigger.
I am going to be disappointed. I'm going to feel like I feel like a lesser person until I see a bedazzled A on the table.
That would be so freaking funny.
It's going to be
Fine. I will go find one. I will make a championship belt.
There we go.
Apocalypse.
There
we
we
gotta.
It does.
We gotta have.
It does.
We gotta commission. We gotta commission Swarovski to make one of those dipshit Marvel characters with like a Swarovski encrusted Apocalypse belt buckle.
I feel like this is. I feel like this is next year's Bug Eater trophy.
So we are getting championship belts for Big B. Just say.
Oh. Are they gonna have a big A on them?
No, probably not. I don't get to make that call.
I don't know if I'm.
I mean, it has to have a tractor on it, right? Like that's got to be the thing. I assume, at least.
All right. Let's move on to death, shall we? We can all put on our black fingernail polish, do our eyeliner up, and complain about how our parents don't understand us. There are 2 superpowers on the Death Horseman card. First is Created to End. It's for 3 power. During the next attack this character makes this turn, add 1 die to the attack roll for each damage the target character has to a maximum of 3. Can only be used once per turn. And then Horseman of Death. Once per turn, when another character is dazed or KO'd by this character, or this character is dazed or KO'd after the effect is resolved, Master of the Horseman gains 3 evolution tokens. Assignable characters for death are Archangel, Cassandra Nova, Gambit, Honey Badger, Iceman, Psylocke, Toad, and Wolverine. What do we think about death?
I mean, death is good. Like, I mean, it's a good way to spend power to. I mean, it's like spending power to translate to damage, right? So that's good.
At first, originally, I thought it was damage that the Horsemen had on them is what gives you the extra dice. But then JP pointed out to me, no, it's the character that you're attacking
target,
is equal to the number of dice you get.
Right. It's the opposite of Drax's power.
So I think you want to have characters who can do damage without attacking to put damage on somebody before you use it. So like what was I thinking of? Like doing like fastball special with Colossus and Wolverine, right? Throwing Wolverine into somebody to make them take damage so that you can have the dice for war. That's pretty good, right? Or not war, I mean death.
Well, Pestilence could come up first and nick people with conditions for damages, and death could follow it from there.
Yeah, that's true too. Like I think there's going to be a lot more setup with death, but death could get stupid.
To play devil's advocate a little bit,
the
superpower on the card created to end can only be used once per turn.
Right.
So, like, it's not like you can double use it for 2 attacks. So
that's true.
You could just throw 1 attack, and if you do damage, you use a superpower. So someone who has like a high damage output anyway, say like Psylocke, who can get 7 dice natively with her superpower, and then have rerolls on top with her superpowers, and have rerolls on top with the Horseman card, and be able to pump for 3. Like, so say she does like 3 damage, she can just like fully pay for the superpower on her second attack with regular power, KO them or daze or KO them, and then get 3 Evo tokens back from Horseman of Death power.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I also don't hate like cyboing someone first and then doing her thing and then doing a telekinetic katana with like a shit ton of dice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the way it's been set up.
Yeah.
Like if you already have an injured character, you could just like come up and one-shot somebody with a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
just stack everything. Add the dice. Add the dice from her superpower. Add the dice from created to end. You could stack her rerolls and Horseman rerolls. It could be really ugly, really fast.
Well, yeah, if you haven't figured it out, me and JP are pretty high on Psylocke's death.
Oh, sure.
I think
although Archangel's death is pretty good. I mean, 7 up to a 10 die spender. You just need 1 wild to stagger, and plus you're getting richer for adding wilds for each or hits for each wild. It seems like Archangel's death is pretty effective to move in for the kill for just about anything too.
I don't hate Archangel either.
He has the charge, right?
He does.
Archangel?
He does for 2.
Yeah, I do like Archangel. I do like his innate thing that Gamora has. So like anytime you're adding extra dice, that's just extra damage basically.
I don't know. It's just a 10 dice spender with a wild stagger seems pretty freaking good.
Yeah, and essentially what it makes it so wilds essentially count twice because you change another dice.
I mean, I guess not just that. If the character is bleeding or poisoned, and you get the wild, you don't just stagger them; you activate them.
Yep. Which is also good.
Yes.
Well, and you can use, like you can use the fact that Apocalypse can add like bleed to somebody or whatever too with his superpower. So I like the synergy there. I think it's good.
Yeah. If Apocalypse wants to get silly, he's doing 3 for his spender +2 for however many conditions, and then you can do 3 more and add up to 3 more dice too. You could really get a ginormous spender out of Apocalypse with that.
You definitely could.
You want something dead? Apocalypse with his spender and death. I'll do it. Sure.
Basically, Apocalypse he's got his own Helios.
It's a lot of dice.
Oh Lord, we don't need to be triggering people over another Helios in the game.
I should not say it that way because that means the next time I'll have like an 18 dice Apocalypse attack and roll 4 successes.
I feel like the what is it? War. I like War a little better on Apocalypse.
Yeah.
On paper.
So do I.
It's also
I on paper it sounds better with Apocalypse.
Because like
It's
being able to
also-
just flip a blank to a hit is essentially worth like 2 attack dice. If you can do
the
that
other thing
twice,
to
you're getting
consider too, right? Is like the character already is gonna have damage on them. So like adding dice may not end up mattering if they don't have a large health pool.
Right.
Like if they only got 6 health and they already got 3 damage on them, it's like I mean I guess this you're just doubling down to make sure, but it's
I mean,
it's
you can make the same
definitely less
argument
effective.
for War too, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose War's more of a higher floor where Death is more of a higher ceiling.
Yeah, I mean,
Possibly.
I certainly do like Psylocke with War. I think Wolverine is fine. Or not War, I mean Death, sorry. Who else has Death?
It is
Cassandra Nova?
Archangel,
we don't.
Cassandra Nova, Gambit, Honey Badger, Iceman, Psylocke, Toad, and Wolverine.
So, side note, I do like Honey Badger with Death, not only because you get like it ups her output a little bit, but also because when she dies, you gain evolution tokens. So
Yeah,
like
3 of them.
you can
Yeah.
kind of force it because she has taunt.
Yep. Yeah.
So like, and Apocalypse has that card where you can kill somebody, right? So like killing your death to get evolution tokens is also pretty good.
Yeah, I did it. I did it both games Friday night. I popped Honey Badger and I popped Toad.
Yep, that's definitely worth it.
Yeah, we can get into we'll get into the Apocalypse's 2 tactics cards, but let's kind of make sure we finish our thoughts on Death. Anything else anybody kind of wants to on specifically on Death as a horseman? Any additional thoughts or anything you want to share?
Not that I can think of. I don't.
It seems
Okay.
the most snowbally after famine for
Yeah.
horseman tokens to me.
Just
Yeah,
because you can hand out 3 at a time.
You just get 3 if you daze somebody. It's just a huge influx of tokens. Like War, you get 1 every time you deal damage, so you can gain 2 on your turn. Whereas this is like 50% more if you the daze or KO somebody.
Right.
You can only get
War
1
has-
for more.
What's that?
It specifies the first time this character would.
Oh, it's only
Yeah,
the
it is
first time.
only-
Okay, so it only
it's
works
only the
once.
first time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's even
Or
better.
I definitely think is like this. Yeah, it's pretty good when it comes to its generation.
So yeah, it's the first time the character suffers damage and the first time the character deals damage. So you could get 2. But that's
Well, you get
it.
more than 2 if you're taking
Each
damage
turn.
more than one turn.
Right.
But
You get 2 in a turn. That's right. That's true.
Is death isn't reactive, right?
what do you mean reactive?
Oh, never mind. I was thinking of Sabretooth, but Sabretooth can't. He's not death. He's
Oh,
pestilence
Yeah.
and war, because
Yep,
he has
that's right.
the counterattack thing. And I was like, could you use that counter? like as a counter, but you can't.
So how do you guys think, if you're putting together an apocalypse list, how do you see Horsemen interacting with the various crisis that we have in the game currently? I mean, some of them are pretty obvious that you want to have mid-central fights. I mean, those seem pretty straightforward. Are there horsemen that would seem better suited for a wider game, like a DMAP or something like a scoring, like a something like a scoring team, like Webbs would want to play?
This is where my discussion about Magik. I think Magik has value there because she's so fast. So like on a D, like she just becomes like her ability to place around is really good.
Who was that? You dropped out just a little bit, David. Who was that again?
Magik.
Okay.
Magik is one of those characters that I think so when you're designing an apocalypse roster, I think you need to have multiple specific horsemen at different threat levels just to ensure that you can get the horsemen that you want. Because I think if you're like married to the idea of like my only death character is going to be Psylocke, you may find yourself in a situation where you're like, oh, I can't fit the points for Psylocke, right?
Right.
So that's going to be definitely something that you're going to have to sit and consider. Like, you want to have the flexibility to be able to run multiple death or multiple famine, pestilence, whatever you. Which it's good that they made both all the horsemen able to be 2, which is a useful thing.
Not all of them.
They can all be 2, right?
Famine doesn't have a 2.
No, I mean not a 2 threat. Like, there's all the horsemen can be 2
Oh,
different.
yes. There's you have at least yes, that's right. Yeah, there's let's see. Famine's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3s, a 4 and a 5. Pestilence has got
Only 5. So the only 5 horsemen are Cassandra Nova and Cable, right?
Yes, I believe that is true.
Yeah, they're the only 5s. And
Yep,
We
honestly,
haven't really talked about Cable, but I don't know.
neither of those 2 will get played as horsemen. I think they're too
I don't think
expensive.
so either. I think the
Yeah.
5 threat's going to be it's too hard, right? Because for their threat value, right, you can get 2 horsemen, right? You can
Right.
get a 3 and a 2. So
Right. Although I suppose if you're playing at 20, I mean, you could still that still leaves you could do Apocalypse, Cable, and then three threes. That seems like it would be useful. You could still do, like, hypothetically, Cable is War, and then Beast is Pestilence, Magik is Plague, and I could see a scenario at 20 maybe where you'd at least think about it. I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze.
I don't think it is either. I think you probably just take a 4. You just like bump one of those 3s. You just take 2 4s instead.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, like I don't know if the extra value for Cable in anything is what Cable's.
I mean, the other thing to look at is you're talking 20 threat, so you're talking what? Scoundrels and what's
Scrolls.
the Scrolls? Is there
Yeah.
another 20 here?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So, I mean, Cable's not very good on Scoundrels without the X-Force leadership.
No, probably not. Yeah,
So,
like I said, I theoretically it would work. I don't know if it actually is. I don't know if it's actually. I don't know. I don't know if it's actually worth doing or not. But at least theoretically, you could make it fit.
I mean, you could try it. It's definitely something. I assume there's going to be a lot of like trial and error about who's what and where.
I think that's one of
about
the. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's going to be really cool about the affiliation is there's just so many different permutations that you can have with it that it's gonna there's gonna be a lot of workshopping before I think there's consensus on what's really the what's really good with Apocalypse, which is good.
So
Yeah,
I was telling Alex that when he's doing all the organization, you should get stickers to mark each horseman on each card. That's the way I think I would do it. Is I would have like just a set of stickers and be like, okay, these 2 stickers are like black is death and red is war. And then if it's got a black and a red on it, that means you can use those 2 horsemen. Because otherwise, I think in an event, it's going to be real difficult unless you have some way to organize how all your horsemen are.
Yeah, that's how I organized them. I have stickers on them right now.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good idea. That's a pretty good. I didn't think about that. That's a pretty good idea. I mean, on the table they'll have the actual cards, the horseman cards on the card, but yeah, trying to keep track of who's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think stickers is the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay. Any other kind of broader, now that we've kind of walked through all the different horsemen with Apocalypse, any other sort of bigger picture, either list building or strategic gameplay thoughts with regards to Apocalypse? Alex, you've had a little bit of road testing time. How did you find the different horsemen to work with each other, or what did you find to be the best?
Well, I've only got 2 games in, so I mean the verdict is still kind of out as to who's best and does things better.
Mhm.
There's one conclusion I came to though. Blob is heading the way of the dodo bird. He was fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Was he just too static? Like what did you
Too slow.
what horseman
He
did you have?
I played him as Pestilence because
Okay.
that's what I needed, and he
Yeah.
was too slow. JP threw him away, which was the right play. Don't like nothing against him, but the fact that he's too slow and
Yep.
like his 2 horsemen that he can be, it's just Pestilence requires him being up there, but it's too slow. Famine requires him to be away from people, so that way he can get evolution tokens, but he's range 2. And his spender puts him in range 1 of the target. So it's very counterintuitive to what his kit actually is.
Which did
I
you
mean, I don't
find?
hate him like spendering up and then placing away, right? Spendering up, pushing everybody, and then placing away. Like that's not terrible.
It
But it's
doesn't
not
sound
optimal, I don't
terrible,
think.
but I never had the opportunity to do so because,
Yeah.
again, 1, he was getting pushed away and thrown away, so he didn't have any power to do anything. And
Yeah.
2, I had Iceman in there in that list or for that squad, and he's just a better famine.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yep.
This is
Um,
I think you're gonna have to figure that out, right? Like which ones are just more optimal, I suppose.
which of the horsemen, Alex, did you kind of find were your sort of your most go-tos that you ended up getting the most value out of?
Both games I played with Magik and Iceman, I got a lot of those 2. Colossus with Pestilence, a lot of value out of him. And honestly, I played Toad and Honey Badger both as death, and I got value out of them just because they both were dazed and KO'd, and it gave me evolution tokens, but I KO'd both of them with Apocalypse's card, so it gave him an action, gave him an extra power, and gave me 3 evolution tokens. So really, the only one that was a letdown was Blob.
You realize that we just now have you on recording saying that you got value out of Honey Badger. Let's go.
You do have me on recording saying that I got value out of Honey Badger. I got value out of her by dying.
Well, hey, value is value.
So she's not the worst model in the game.
Any other thoughts, guys, on either list building or strategy or anything else? We've still got to. I still want to. We can still go over the two tactics cards, but I just kind of want to get any broader thoughts on sort of Apocalypse as a affiliation, because I feel like that's kind of what we went over.
I think
I
David
still
came up with
don't
it, but it
know.
was the Magik's team tactics card is kind of cool with Apocalypse, right? Go ahead and talk about that,
Yeah,
David.
yeah, teleporting her up with Journey Through Limbo, or teleporting Apocalypse up with it, which is because he's immune to Incinerate, right? So it would give him a power or heal a damage, I guess, and it would place him up, which is like a range to replace on a large base is real good, like insane. You'd have to set it up though, but yeah, it's still really good. I like that a lot. I like the fastball special with Colossus and Wolverine. I think that's. I mean, they're both horsemen. It gives bleed, which is another condition, right? So you can use that with Apocalypse's thing, or just give them bleed, right? Trying to think if there's anything else I could think of that's like interesting tactics cards that you could use. Weapon X, I guess. The card that lets you throw Wolverine. That's pretty good. The pounce. I don't know if you use it, but it could be something. I don't know if there's any other like interesting combinations of things I hadn't thought about.
I like the synergy of Journey Through Limbo with Apocalypse's teleport thing.
Yeah, that's pretty good too. I do like that.
You can leapfrog Apocalypse and like 2 characters for the
Yeah.
cost of 3 power and attack card on Magik, and then 4 power on Apocalypse.
Well, and you're giving him an extra one too
That's true.
when you journey him too.
That's true.
Which I do like that. I do like that.
Well,
Well, and if Magik is your war, I mean, she could spend 2 evolution tokens to war and potentially pull enough power to do it, right?
you're
So
talking on
that's
round
not
1 or what?
well, no, not around. Well, I mean, how would you get her
I
into
don't know.
range
That's what I was
enough to do
asking.
it?
I mean, I'm
Yeah, I don't
assuming
think.
Magik is going to have 3 power at some point in the game if it's not round 1. I thought you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
implying that you were doing it round 1.
No, I mean, but like it's definitely something I think you could do round 2, right? Like even if she has, say, she has no power or 1 power, like you could easily pull enough power to do it and set it up.
You just throw 2 little daggers twice, right? And then
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can do a lot of things with that. Um, what else? I'm sure there's probably like a bajillion things because
Well,
there's
let's
just so
go.
many horsemen.
Well, let's go with the two tactics cards, and maybe that'll kind of jar some from this. The two tactics cards that Apocalypse comes from. The first one is, wait for it. The first one, Apocalypse. It's unaffiliated active. Apocalypse can spend 4 power to play this card. Choose an allied character. The allied character is KO'd. Removed 1 activated token from Apocalypse. If the chosen character was injured, Apocalypse gains the stagger special condition. The second tactics card is Immortal Servants. This is a Servants of the Apocalypse card, active. Apocalypse can. You know what? That's got a lot of text. Let's go one at a time. Let's think through the first one. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of that?
An extra activation on a 6 threat model is fantastic. Like just like nothing. I mean, yeah, you're losing the character, but I mean, like Alex did, right? If you're sacrificing a 2 threat, like a 2 threat is definitely worth, you know, an extra activation Apocalypse. I mean, I think you're always going to want to do it on Apocalypse's injured side, probably, just because he's immune to stagger. So you can gain a power out of it. which is pretty good too, right?
Well, you gain a power and you get to use somebody's front side.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so two questions. First, strategically, is it worth burning a probably 2-threat character early to give Apocalypse a full activation? Or is it worth it to try to get value out of the 2-threat to give a stagger activation to Apocalypse?
Well, that's what we were saying about Apocalypse being injured, right? If Apocalypse is injured, then the stagger doesn't matter. Because he's immune to stagger.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Oh, I totally missed that.
Yeah, because he's immune to stagger, and it also means he'll gain a power.
Yes. Yeah, so actually that would be, yeah, so, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
So you probably want to use it. Now, I mean, you could make a case for, like, you want to use an activation to, like, pick up a model that you, like, say you failed to get them, and you wanted to get them before, say, they have prio, and you're like, well, they're going to activate their Hulk, who's got, like, 17 damage on him. He's
Right.
going to, like, rampage me if I don't take him out right now, right? So,
Right.
like, that could be a situation where you maybe use that card prematurely or, like, ahead of when you would want to.
Right. So the second question is probably more cute than good. It says an allied character. If I remember correctly, grunts count as characters. If you splash someone with a grunt, could you KO the grunt and trigger that off of Apocalypse?
I don't believe you can, because I don't believe grunts can be affected by tactics cards.
Correct. Yeah, they can't be affected by tactics cards.
Yeah, so it couldn't KO them.
Oh, okay.
You can't. Can you not? Are the rules you can't choose them?
Correct. Yeah, you can't target them.
Yeah, they can't. It's not they can't be targeted. They can't be affected by it. So the effect would be it kills them, right? So that you can't use that effect, right?
Okay. I was that popped into my head when I was reading it, but okay, that makes sense. Okay.
I mean, if you could do that, that would be like a legit reason to consider splashing a grunt character, but like I
Right.
just don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if bringing in because there's nobody that's less than a 4-threat that has grunts, right?
Yeah, nobody less than a 4-threat.
Yeah, so I mean, you're bringing in 4 threat of non-horsemen just to give Apocalypse an extra activation, which, I mean, that's good, but I don't know that that's... I don't know. It popped into my head as I was thinking through it.
To maximize this card, you need to have activated Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And then maximum use would be Apocalypse is injured and the sacrificial lamb is injured.
Yes.
So they're both injured and Apocalypse is activated. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's better if they're both
and
right?
Yeah, the other character is activated as well.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, then the other card is Immortal Servants, and that's Servants of the Apocalypse. It has to be through that in that affiliation. It has an active and a reactive feature. The active is Apocalypse can spend 3 to play this card during his activation, remove 2 damage from Apocalypse and each other allied character within 2 of him.
Oh, I didn't actually read this card. When you guys said the first part of it. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So the reactive part, when Apocalypse is attacking or defending at the end of the modified dice step of the attack, before they calculate success or failure, he may spend 2 to play this card. The attacking and defending characters re-roll all of their attack and defense dice.
This card's fucking incredible.
Yeah, it is a really good card. I mean, damn. I didn't know about the reactive part.
You get a heal,
yeah.
you get a heal, and you get a heal.
It's a better recalibration matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he gets his own recalibration matrix. Oh, even better.
Or just a pocket heal. A pocket We Are Groot.
Sure. It's pretty good. pretty good.
Yeah,
I like it a
so
lot.
yeah, especially since his leadership
Well,
card isn't a tactics card.
you're gonna be. I mean, you're gonna be taking Apocalypse, so like, there's no way that this card is not gonna have value. The other thing too is like on Kaiju's, most of the time Kaiju's you're gonna want to bring Recalibration Matrix just
Right.
because having the ability to like either defensively use it to get out of a big spike or to offensively use it to kill something that you may have like completely whiffed on.
Yep.
Both scenarios are really good.
Yep. And now you
And
get to do it twice.
yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. For 2 power too. Ugh, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Super.
On the heal, it's
That's-
worth noting that he can teleport 2 people next to him during the power phase, and then heal him
and then
in his activation.
Yep.
which is also good.
Yeah, especially if he has priority.
Yes.
I
Okay.
I do
do
like that card. I did not know about the second part until just now.
Yeah, I didn't know about the reactive part either. I was like, it's just a heal. I mean, that's good. You're probably gonna take it, but now that I saw that it has that part on it, means that you don't have to. Maybe there you could get a situation where you don't necessarily have to take a tactics card slot for Recalibration Matrix, right? Like maybe you don't bring both.
Maybe you double
I
down
mean, you
on it.
probably do,
I think
but you probably do. But
It depends on. I mean, are you just running Master of the Horseman every game, or not Master of the Horseman? The first one. Is that
the
just getting
extra
jammed every
activation.
game? Yeah, is that
Yeah,
getting
that's
jammed every
what-
game?
Maybe.
Because you got 2 restricted cards, and then you got. I think you take Immortal Servants every game because that card's just dumb.
Yeah.
And then
I would imagine you're less likely to use the first one if you've
why do you think you're less likely to use it?
well, just because then you're less like your windows become harder to hit because then you've got to have your higher threat model you're ready to sacrifice, plus you've got to have Apocalypse activated. I guess it's not that much more complicated about it, but it's not as obvious as a play as when you have a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, I mean there might be a world where you have to give up a 3.
Right.
I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
when you would not have. I mean, unless your opponent's just knocking them out before you can use it.
Right.
But like, if you go like Apocalypse and 3/4s at 18, I
Yeah.
guess you'd have to pick off in 4, which sucks. But other than
Well,
that, I mean,
yeah, and I
you
guess-
can run a 2 or a 3 somewhere.
Yeah, and we kind of talked through that the 2 5s that are eligible horsemen probably aren't ever going to be horsemen.
I mean, it's such an early time for this
Yeah.
affiliation. I'm not going to say never on anything, but I don't think they would be in my first draft of a list.
No, me neither.
I mean, there is the synergy in the fact that Nova can root people, but she got her kit. Like she just
Mhm.
never has enough power to do the things that like if she had the power gen thing like Maw and Strange, like if she generated 2 extra power or Jean, like Nova would be pretty good. But just like on her kit on her own, she just never has enough power to do things she wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might still run Recal in the 10.
Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely run it in the 10.
Yes,
I think there could be a reason to not run it in your 5, right?
I don't.
Right.
I think you'll run it in your 10. I can't say for sure, but like you're gonna have your 2 restricted. You're gonna have first one Immortal Servants, and then probably fallback, and then you might have character specific cards. Well, you're gonna have Journey Through Limbo, right?
Yeah, you're probably going to
that's
have at least
6.
one character specific, either Fastball Special or Journey Through Limbo or whatever.
Maybe if you're taking Psylocke, you take that Constructs card to make
Maybe
an Apocalypse Spender really stupid.
Yeah.
could. I guess it's not the worst thing I've heard.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Being able to reroll a high dice attack is
And it turns it
pretty
mythic,
good,
right?
Yeah. I'm
I
trying
like
to think
that
of
too.
other cards that you would even take with any of these characters. I'm not thinking of any right now. I'm looking. Honey Badger has Jonathan, but I don't even know if I like
I don't even
Jonathan
know
on the
with that.
list. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it
I
is
don't know.
Recal. You probably double up on Recal.
Yeah, I was
I
looking
mean,
at
yeah, I
the
think it definitely is in your 10. Definitely.
new Archangel
I think,
Psylocke
I mean, you
card.
definitely, you're restricted. One of them has to be Brace, right? Because people are
Yeah.
going to throw shit at Apocalypse just
Yep.
because he can't
Yep.
heal that damage, and he has no. I mean, you're just raw defense dice.
And maybe Indomitable, so he doesn't get chucked away or pushed
Rome,
away.
I don't hate Indomitable. I don't hate Sacrifice either, and I don't hate Patch Up. I mean, you can make a case for any of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna have. I think most of the characters that you're gonna be thinking about having as horsemen are probably gonna have their own character specific cards.
Like, I don't hate the idea of like sacrificing into your death so that your death can get
Yeah.
dazed
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get some evolution tokens, right? Like, I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like Sacrifice might lose a little bit of value in the list with 2 Taunters, but it's still a good card.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Well, and
People are worth considering.
yeah, and you may not. I mean, there's going to be probably a bunch of scenarios where you're not going to put either one of the 2 taunters out on the board. So
I think you could squeeze one of them in every list or in every
probably,
squad if you wanted
yeah,
to.
probably, especially with what is Honey Badger? Honey Badger's
Death and I don't know what her other one is.
Death and War.
I mean, Taunt is a far cry from Bodyguard, so
yeah, she's Death and War.
Sacrifice is still really good, but
Yes, that's true. That's true. So, okay. Any kind of final thoughts on Apocalypse or the Servants of the Apocalypse? I mean, JP, I think you said it exactly right. We're still really early days in this, and we're going to need a lot of. We're going to have to look at a lot of data that gets accumulated before we really get an idea of what this affiliation is going to be. But at least any kind of closing thoughts to give to people if they're thinking about buying Apocalypse, or they're realizing that somebody like Alex is going to buy the Apocalypse, and they're going to have to deal with them for the next 3 months.
Should we do like a quick tier list of the 16?
We can do that.
Because they if people are buying Apocalypse, they might not like these. It's just kind of a like motley crew of like characters. I mean, a lot of them are X-Men, but there's some weird ones too. Like
that's a
people might have to buy extra models, so maybe we go through and see the ones.
That's a really good point. Okay, so let's do a real quick tier list. How do they go? S, A, B, C, D, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
F. We could condense it maybe to like 3 tiers, maybe. I don't know if we want to do a traditional one.
Well,
we could do a traditional one.
If we're doing it as a buyer's guide, maybe it's a must buy, could buy, or only if you like the character.
I like that. Let's do that.
Okay, so let's do must buy, must have, nice to have, don't need it. Okay, so I'm just going to go
3 tiers.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Must have.
Yep.
Nice to have, don't need it. All right, so I'll just go through. I'll start with War. Beast.
Story is really interesting. I think he's B, he's like middle.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's probably like. I don't think you mess with Beast unless you want to play Beast. Like, I just don't think.
Well, I mean,
are we talking about him just for War? Maybe it'd be easier to.
I think we just do them as in.
We just go by models. Right? Yeah.
Let's
I don't think we care about what they're.
Yeah, let's just go by models. So So Beast is. Let me hang on a sec. I'll keep talking about Beast. I'm going to pull up the thing that
Pull
has
it up in
all.
Cerebro by affiliation, and then you'll get it in alphabetical order.
Yep, on it.
Beast does do stuff. He's a 3-threat. He's got a cheap throw, which is valuable. He's medium base, medium mover, so he can do some tricks. He can kind of get around on a D, like decently, if you can land a wild on his hit. I guess you could just double move, but if you're trying to like really squeeze action economy out of his kit. I don't hate Beast. I think he's probably more well-rounded than Blob. I do like Blob as well, but those are Deadpool's also good as a 3. I don't know.
All right.
I guess we could make the list and then adjust it after if we have an imbalance of threat levels somewhere.
Yep. All right. So I've got the alphabetical list. So Beast is Pestilence and War. So are we going to pencil him right now and as nice or as don't need him?
Oh, he's definitely nice. I think Iceman.
I think he's in the
we'll go in
nice.
order.
All right. So we'll put Death and Pestilence. Where do we put Warren?
He's probably in the same category as Beast.
I think he's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
I think he could be fine. Yeah.
Okay. Cable.
I don't think he bothers Cable.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Cassandra Nova is Cable was Pestilence and War. Cassandra Nova is Death and Famine.
Same.
I'm gonna go same.
I don't think you bother with Cassandra Nova.
Yep, I agree.
No, both of them.
Colossus is Pestilence and War.
I think you gotta get Colossus.
I think you gotta get Colossus too. He's good at both.
I really like him in this list. I think he's one of the better models here.
Okay. Is that as Pestilence or for both Pestilence and War, or does it matter?
I think he's good in both.
Yeah.
He's good in both.
Yeah.
All right. Deadpool is Famine and War.
Deadpool's a really good model, just outside of this affiliation.
I'm just not sure that the Horsemen actually give a ton extra value to Deadpool.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too. And losing Exceptional kind of sucks a little bit.
Deadpool feels like he'd be nice to have, but I don't know that he's a must-have in this affiliation.
Yeah, I would probably put him a B for right now as well.
Yeah, I just don't know what he's doing.
Right.
Per se.
Right.
I guess.
All right, this one's gonna make me sad. Gambit is Death and Famine. Yeah, I know.
We said we were going to talk about him.
Well, that's so we're just moving on to ease my pain.
Okay, side note though, there is a situation where maybe you bring Gambit for his stupid card that gives everybody stealth.
Oh.
First rule of Gambit is you don't talk about Gambit.
I mean, I don't know if it's good, but it does exist. He just has to not be an X-Men, which he's not. So
yeah, but
that is true.
It is, although it seems like the Servants of the Apocalypse are always wanting to be in your face. So I'm not sure.
But not having having someone not be able to like attack your whoever you go out and grab out and extract with or whatever.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It's not. I mean, is it worth bringing Gambit? Probably not. But
I think he's probably. Yeah, I think he's probably still. You don't need him. All right, Honey Badger is Death and War.
So I think the 2s are very valuable to this affiliation. So I think
she's like B+ for me.
Yeah,
she's like
right. I think you bring her.
She's cusping for me. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think she's the better of the twos to bring in terms of what you want to have the Horsemen doing. So I think I'd put her on a must. I think she'd be a must have for me.
I think you run both. Honestly, I think you run Toad and.
I do too, but I think for sure, Honey Badger's a must have.
I mean, Toad is just one of the best models in in class in the game, right?
100%.
So, I mean,
Yeah, I think you got to have them both too. I'm still a little bit on the fence about Honey Badger, but that's just my feel about her.
This is the nicest you've ever been to poor Gabby. I'm so proud of you, Alex.
I'll just go with you guys. I'm cusp with her, but
Okay.
Must is fine.
Yeah.
Iceman is death and famine.
I think Iceman's a must. I think you gotta get
Iceman
him.
is
Iceman
he's
definitely up
a
there.
fucking beast in this list.
Yeah,
He does
he's a
all the
beast.
things you want him to do.
Magik is famine and war.
I
She's
think she's nice to have.
yeah.
Okay. I
I
can't
like
say
her.
must, but she's a good 3 threat, and that's why she's in mine.
I also have a soft spot for Magic because I play a lot of convocation, and she's good in convocation, and I roll a lot of pierces, so
You do. That is can confirm. Mr. Sinister is famine and pestilence. I kind of got
I think he's like
interested in our pestilence discussion. I all of a sudden got more interested in Mr. Sinister.
I think he could be in the nice.
Yeah.
Like if you want him, I think you could find a place for him.
He's a very
I
maligned.
agree.
He's a very maligned character, and probably for good reason.
Yep.
So like polishing a turd is fine. Yeah, I'm like cusp on B and C for him.
Okay.
Because I don't know actually. Like I think he's fine in his roles, but is he just like are the other guys just better than him in those roles?
Better, yeah, especially since he's 4, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. That's
Well,
kind
he's
of where I'm at.
competing. Let's see. So he's competing as a 4 with
Colossus.
Colossus as pestilence.
Yep.
And as famine, he's competing with Psylocke.
Is Psylocke the only other 4 famine? I guess.
Famine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's Nova, Deadpool, Gambit.
But you got to think, when are you running Colossus and
I-
Mr. Sinister in the same squad?
Yeah, you probably aren't.
Yeah,
I
probably
think
not.
you're running 2 4s. I don't know if it happens. You're probably picking a 3 for your whatever it
If you
was.
are gonna run 2 4s, it's probably gonna be like Psylocke and Colossus. Right?
Probably.
Probably, yeah. I just don't know where he fits in there. I like the idea of him, but
So we
that
dumping
beam
him.
costing 1 power.
So we
kinda
dumping him
hurts.
down to we don't need him.
I kind of
I
feel
think
like
he's
it,
fine.
but
Nice.
All right.
I think he's fine. If you want to bring him.
There's
I guess if you really wanted to play Sinister, you just play him, right?
there's enough.
I think
potential-
he's C, but he's a cusp for me.
Okay.
Put him wherever. B or C.
Psylocke is death and famine.
Oh, she's a must. I think you gotta have her.
I mean,
Psylocke is a
again,
must.
she's just like an objectively good model, right? Regardless of affiliation. And the fact that this affiliation list is kind of like whelming makes the good ones stick out even more. So
Well, and it
Yeah.
sort of feels like a lot of what the list wants to do is stuff that she wants to do too.
well, not only that, like I don't think the list necessarily wants to play on Ds that much. And if you end up on a D,
Yeah.
maybe you're against webs, and then Psylocke's really good there. So
Yeah.
Well, here's something we didn't really talk about at all. Sabretooth is pestilence and war.
So, side note on Sabretooth,
Yeah.
he can generate can he generate 2 evolution tokens if he gets attacked, right? Because he could get attacked, take damage, and then attack them back and generate 2.
Yep. If he does damage on his clapback.
the first time each turn, this character suffers damage from an enemy effect, and the first time each turn, this character deals damage.
Yeah, so he
So
could.
yes.
Yep.
So he could. So
Yes.
there's a case for him there.
Yeah.
Just because of that. I think that's solid, but I don't know if it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
I
know.
mean, he could definitely throw down some damage.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
if Psylocke's good because she's on a D and she can get around and do the things that she wants to do, well, Sabretooth can do that too, right?
Yeah. Well,
And
Sabretooth, I
he's-
mean, he can no mercy and add 3 dice, and then he can war it. I mean, 8 dice with basically Warrior of Legend and Bleed and Pierce. It's pretty good. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
The problem with Sabretooth is he's not very durable for a 4. And it
I would put
just
him in
becomes-
B.
Yeah, I
I
would
don't
put
think
him
he's a
in
bad
too.
character. He does get hurt a lot, I think, from the exceptional healing rotation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and
I
it
would put
sucks
him in
that
B as
he's
well because of
3
that.
that he's like flat 3s for defense. He should at least be 4.
Yeah, and he's only 6'6" on that
Yeah.
iteration of him, so
and he's only got the 1 healing factor.
yeah, he's just I don't know.
He's
If you
nice.
like Sabretooth, he's fine, whatever.
Yeah, he feels like he's nice to have, but he's not necessary.
No, I don't think he is.
Okay.
The fact that we don't have a lot of granularity here, I just put him in the middle.
Yeah, well,
I don't think he's trash, but
we're getting a pretty bell-shaped curve look here, which is probably about right. The Blob is famine and pestilence.
I
I
would
think
definitely put him in B.
I think he's in B. Yep.
Like nice to
We'll
have.
go with
Nice
that.
to have. Nice to have.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
okay.
He does his job well. I think Blob is a good model.
Because I guess Alex, I thought you had a pretty not so high opinion of the Blob in your roster.
I didn't, just because, I mean, JP knew what to do to make him pointless.
Well, it seems like that's always going to be the case, isn't it?
Well, I made the point that if I wasn't medium throwing Blob with Hulk, I would be throwing Apocalypse into his team, right?
That's fair.
So I've got
That's
other
fair.
outlets for that big throw.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so he's nice to have. Toad.
I think you have to have Toad.
Yeah,
He's
He's
the cream
one
of the
Toad
crop.
threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One, Toad's awesome. 2, he's a 2 threat.
Yeah. No, he's good as either. You can use him as either, right? Like I don't mind him as death because if he dies, whatever,
Right.
you get your evolution tokens, right?
And then he's able to get around to get to where he needs to get to be for pestilence.
Yeah. Well, and he also auto incinerates with his spit, so it's pretty good with pestilence too.
Yep. And then last is Wolverine is death and war.
I think he's in the middle. I think if you want him, fine. I don't
I'm gonna
know.
go B again.
Yeah, I think he's B. If this was Logan, that's a whole different story. But
Right, 100%.
Wolverine,
A lot of these characters just kind of got hurt from that exceptional healing rotation.
I mean,
yeah, they did.
They really did.
Yeah, not surprising that a mutant themed affiliation is going to get hit by that. But yeah, if we'd have had this conversation without the exceptional healing change, then this.
Well, and I also think the loss of no matter the cost also affects Wolverine too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so that puts our Consumer Reports Best Buy must-haves for Apocalypse Horsemen as Colossus, Honey Badger, Iceman, Psylocke, and Toad. The nice-to-haves are Beast, Archangel, Deadpool, Magik, Mr. Sinister, Sabretooth, the Blob, and Wolverine. And the don't need them are Cable, Cassandra Nova, and Sob Gambit. That sound about right?
Was Mr. Sinister not in trash tier? We put him in mid.
I bounced him back and forth a couple of times.
Okay.
I think I ended up putting him back in the middle. If we put him in trash tier, it makes a little more classically shaped bell curve. But I think I think he's probably more accurate in the nice tier, so, or in the mid tier. So okay, I think that's helpful. We'll have the tier list in the show notes. So if you guys want to take a look at that, And we'll also put it up on all of our socials so you can take a look at it. Any kind of last thoughts on the Servants of the Apocalypse? Alex, anything else?
I'm just gonna have a blast playing them. I've been super excited for coming up on 6 months. I'm excited. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm anxious. I'm anxious to see it play out. David, anything else?
I mean, I think if I think people are gonna start looking at the characters that have immunities to stuff, and you're gonna be starting looking at like things like um Children of the Atom or any
Yep.
things that remove conditions.
Yeah,
Even small stuff like what's the Avengers one? The one that removes second wind?
yeah.
Like you could be looking at trying to remove conditions to like keep yourself safe.
There's nobody in here that gives stun though, is there?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And
Yeah.
probably
Battle
maybe Sun
plan.
is not the one, but
Does
I
Battle
Apex
think
give
plan will
stun?
be a
definitely
card that comes up.
some of the characters that are like immune to like incinerate and immune to like bleed. Like I think people are gonna start looking at those guys.
Well, the more. I mean, also, I suppose the characters that are immune to the pestilence conditions might be really useful too.
Is there anybody who's immune to root? I don't think
No.
there is, right? Yeah, there's
Yeah,
nobody.
there's not.
Well,
There's nobody immune
technically
to
Apocalypse.
there's nobody immune to slow either,
Point-
which is like
Yeah.
Iceman is. And shock is very rare.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
only on like Storm
Like
and
3 or
OG Thor. Oh, and maybe
Is
Claw.
it?
I think
Claw,
Claw's
yeah, I
immune.
was gonna say Claw.
Oh,
I
that's
think it's
right.
on 3 characters.
Electro's immune to shock, isn't he?
No,
I don't think so.
Isn't it? That
I
doesn't
don't
make
think
any
so.
sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, I
Oh,
believe
he
you.
is. He is. He is. He is.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So he is.
Shocker is not immune to shock.
Oh yeah.
Shockingly,
Yeah. We all know. We all know what kind of shocker does.
he's immune to stun though.
He's-
Because
Any closing thoughts on the Surface of the Apocalypse, JP?
without having played them, trying to wrap my head around how to build a list
I know.
as far as scenarios. I feel like they want to play more of the traditional attrition
Beat 'em up?
stuff. Yeah, just
Yeah.
because just to maximize your attack triggers.
Mhm.
You don't want to be moving a lot. They don't have a particularly good like mobile list. Like it's fine, but it's nothing to write home about.
Well,
And
Apocalypse-
Apocalypse just
Apocalypse is far
loves
more
double
pulling
attacking.
back in too.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is that you're like ultimately probably going to be defined by your horsemen. So like you don't have the option to go, oh, I could take Bill here if I want to have somebody for the slot, but
Right.
like you're better off taking a horseman. So
Right.
it's going to be hard to shore up weaknesses by just going, oh, I could just take this character.
Right. Yet.
And another thing is like looking at the characters and the horseman powers. It's like they benefit a lot from like stacking, like around a narrow field of play.
Mm-hmm.
So like Colossus, Honey Badger, Iceman with his beams, is it Pestilence? I always get these confused.
Pestilence is the one that does the
it's the one that spreads the
That's
the
Pestilence.
stuff.
And war is
yeah.
linked to like you're wanting to be closer to stuff.
Yeah. So I think you're probably running like demons.
Gamma.
Gamma's. Alex and I were talking about this. Gamma's a little weird because it's 15 and you can't get all your horsemen on 15. But on the flip side, like
but the other
for
teams
15 for 15 threat to have a good answer to Apocalypse is going to be hard for your opponent.
It is.
The whole kaiju list at 15. So I think Gamma is good.
Mhm.
And then like something like Fisk, maybe.
Yeah, it's probably Fisk.
Just being immune to
I
stun.
was like, it's either Fisk or Intrusions, right? I think it's one of those two.
Yeah, I think you could make an argument for either one. With Apocalypse being immune to stun, it's definitely attractive, but there's nobody else in the list who is. So
Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
Wolverine
you're
is-
right. It is Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have a Fisk plan, you could do like Wolverine Apoc, and then like 2 3s, or like a 4 and a 2.
Yeah.
And drop one of your riders. I think that's probably fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, webheads, let us know what you think. Let us know what your plans are for Apocalypse. What are you going to do with them? How are you planning to? Who are you planning to put in on each of the Horsemen? What do you think of the tier list? Did we get it right? Should we move some of the Horsemen around? Who are you most looking forward to playing as Horsemen? Get back at us at all the socials at Witty Bantercast. That is now going to include, we can be found on YouTube and on TikTok at Witty Bantercast. So you cannot swing a dead cat without hitting some form of Witty Banter content. You can also get in touch with us at wittybantercast@gmail.com, and you can support us at patreon.com/wittybantercast. So we congratulations to our drawing winner. We'll announce our next drawing in a couple weeks. Until then, webheads, be good.